I want to thank distinguished guests, undistinguished guests. You know who you are. Family, parents, grandparents. How many grandparents do we have here today? Wow. Amazing. We really are living longer, aren't we? How about great-grandparents? Do we have any great-grandparents? Oh, yes. I recently discovered that part of my ancestry is Neanderthal. But I doubt if any Neanderthals are here today. So, another year gone. If you hear me use a Dumbledore line, you could always, cheer or something. I believe my purpose here is to give you last-minute advice that I forgot to give you in class. So my first bit of advice to you is, do not listen to other people giving you advice. Reminds me of what happened to a young man that graduated from a school, came to Alaska to teach, and leaving school, his older teacher advised him that life is like a cup of tea. So the young man left, taught for many years in Alaska, about 7 years in Alaska, but always while he was wandering around and teaching in various places, he paused and thought about what his teacher had said, that life is like a cup of tea, and he wondered, what did he mean by that? Well, 7 years later, he got a chance to go back to New York, where he saw his old teacher, and he asked him, when I graduated, you told me that life is like a cup of tea. What did you mean by that? And the old teacher thought, I said, life is like a cup of tea? I said that? And the young man said, yes. He said, well, maybe life is not like a cup of tea. So you see, advice you get is probably going to be very ambiguous, not mean anything very specific, and probably just the opposite would be just as good an advice. In fact, in looking at different graduation speeches, Lady Rowling, J.K. Rowling, right, told students, don't be afraid to fail. Because, of course, after she failed, she succeeded. So that was great for her. David Brooks, on the other hand, said, don't fail. It will screw you up for the rest of your life. So you may spend years wondering what advice you get means to no avail. But here's a metaphor that I think you'll all remember and makes a great deal of sense. The mirror of Erised. Remember the mirror of Erised, right? Yes? You have to read it backwards because it's actually desire, spelled backwards. And, of course, Dumbledore has to explain to young Harry what the whole point of the mirror is. And he explains that the mirror says, I show not your face but your heart's desire. And then Dumbledore goes on to explain its meaning by saying it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. And this is really one of the main points of advice that I hear in almost every one of these, and that is to be in charge of your own life. Don't just get sucked into that mirror. And the mirror today, as Siobhan pointed out, is the internet, right? All the different media and everything. Facebook, you get sucked into Facebook, and they're so smart, the way that they analyze everything you like, everything you click on, that they eventually start, of course, selling you stuff that they know you'll like, right? So you have to be careful when you enter into that mirror, that contemporary mirror of Erised, because they're all trying to sell you something. Advertisements, they sneak into the movies. There's a new movie out called The Lego Movie. When I was young enough that I was buying toys for my children, we would buy Legos, and they were blocks. Now they've got actors made out of Legos. that are winning acting awards in movies. By the way, that reminds me, Fridays during this summer, I'm offering a class in ancient philosophy, and I haven't had very many people sign up for it yet, so I'm afraid it's going to be canceled unless somebody's interested. That's Friday evenings, 10 weeks. You probably also remember the story of David Foster Wallace talking about "This is water," where the older fish asking the younger fish, "How's the water?" And the younger fish respond, "What's water?" Right? And then Wallace goes on to explain, well, I'm not going to play the role of the older fish giving advice. Well, but I will. Age snuck up on me when I wasn't looking, and I am now the oldest I have ever been. So I feel like I can give you advice. But it's mostly beware the temptations of the new media, the infotainment that we have. Beware of Facebook. I remember even last summer when I bought my virtual reality machine, the Oculus Rift. I don't know if you've tried those or not, but they're absolutely amazing. When you put those on, you feel like you're in that place. And that's also why I bought the cameras I did, so that I can create my own 360 movies, right? So that I can create my own virtual reality. So I even bring those into class, right? Take roll by clicking the picture and everything. But you're eventually going to be working in environments where I think these 360 virtual reality machines are going to be part of your job. I mean, why travel someplace and go and meet with other people when instead you could just click on your computer? We could all already do this when we click on go to meeting or whatever and watch the others and have a discussion. You don't have to travel to New York to go and do this. Well, you're going to have jobs that are going to be like this. In fact, I think once you put these on, it becomes really difficult for you to know whether what you're looking at is the virtual reality or if it's the real reality. Because where do the two, I mean, you are really there. You really are experiencing what you're seeing. So I'm not sure what the difference is. And I don't think it'll be easy for you to know the difference. But it's also being controlled by computers that are smarter than you. Now, they're smarter than you in some ways, but obviously there's other ways that we're smarter than them. IBM creates a machine, beats chess masters, but nonetheless, those chess masters now write books explaining why the computer didn't even know that it was playing chess. Are you training yourself to be disciplined enough to concentrate so that you can be your own leader, your own life will be yours and not under the control of Facebook or Google or the Googleplex? I think so. In fact, the fact that you attended this program convinces me that you are among your peers and above your peers in that respect. You're definitely much smarter than a lot of your peers. And you've also grown up with parents that have already picked Alaska as the place for you to live. And by the way, I'm absolutely convinced that the United States is the best country the world has ever seen, and Alaska is the best state in the best country the world has ever seen. So you're all living in the equivalent of heaven. And the ancients had no concept. I mean, they thought of places that were just covered with milk and honey. Can you imagine a stickier, more miserable place? And, this is fantastic. They could not have imagined the kind of lives that we live today. So you're already in heaven. So how on earth are you going to have a better life as you get older when you're already starting in the best there is? That will be difficult. I'm sure that you're also going to be paying back your community. It's true that you might not have college debt because you didn't have to pay or get out loans for your college tuition here, but the community paid for it. And so you certainly do have a debt to your community. But I'm sure you're going to pay that debt because you're so brilliant. Several years ago, I was selected for jury duty, and after all the questions, the prosecutor looked at me and said, "Professor Jamison, do you realize that I was once one of your logic students?" I was embarrassed because I couldn't remember her, and yet at the same time I was absolutely proud of the fact that one of my students had ended up becoming a prosecutor here in Anchorage. Another one of my students is now a teacher at the University of Alaska, where he teaches psychology. And I've met other graduates that are doing all sorts of great jobs around the town. So you're going to pay the community back. I think the community's investment in you was certainly well worth it. But keep learning, as we keep mentioning. You're in a very fast-paced, changing economy. When I was a kid, they taught us how to write using cursive in a Roman Catholic school where we were also told not to curse, and yet they taught us cursive. It really confused me, that was... But today you've got the internet, you've got computers. I don't think you even have to type on them anymore. You just talk to them and they give you answers. I know in class, if I came up with a question and I didn't know the answer, being an old person, not realizing that the answers are right there on the internet, you would usually give me the answer within seconds of my realizing I didn't know something. But keep learning. Read books. Read books. Study foreign languages, especially, I think, because of where Alaska is. I think you should study Asian languages, but other languages in general, I think, are great because they improve the fluency of our minds. So if you think about it, in order for you to be able to make your own choices, you have to have an awareness of lots of different choices so that you can pick which of those choices will be yours. And so studying, reading biographies of great people, I think, are absolutely fantastic, right? And studying foreign languages. So, if there is one thing I am proud of this year, it is how much you have learned. Okay, that wasn't a Dumbledore quote. That was actually. I should also point out, as you have voted for this, believe it or not, at least some of you did, Ravenclaw wins the House Cup. And remember, life is like a cup of tea. Thank you.